For reasons that I won't get into right now, 2023 was probably the worst year of my entire life. I was also kinda stuck working retail as well, and I would upload my story times to my TikTok. I really feel like I've been neglecting my YouTube channel, so I decided to compile all my stories and post them here. I hope you all enjoy. For those of you who don't know, I work a cashier job at a grocery store, and we're not allowed to keep water at our registers. I think this rule is really dumb because I get really thirsty during the day. So one day I decided to just start bringing my water anyway. I'm not gonna let this little shit job stress me out. My boss comes over and he asks me, "Why do you have water at your register, Envy?" I told him, "Well, you know, I'm thirsty, Mr. Wiley." And then he told me that wasn't an excuse, so he asked me again, "Why do you have water at your register? Explain yourself." So I looked at him, well, no, I stared at his big, bald forehead, and I told him, "The king does not explain himself to the peasants, Mr. Wiley. Run along now and get yourself a Mr. Goodbar." I think I'm gonna get fired. For those of you who don't know, I work a cashier job at a grocery store, and so the other day, I had to go use the restroom, so I stepped away from my register, told my managers where I was going and everything. But as soon as I enter the little boys' room, not even like 2 seconds of being in there, I hear on the intercom, "And this back to your register, and this new back to your register." And I'm just like, bruh, no, I'm gonna finish what I'm doing in here. So I finish my business, I wash my hands, and I go back to my register, and then my managers come over and start yelling at me and cussing me out, like, "You can't leave your register, you can't do that, you just can't, you can't." And I'm just like, bruh, I was using the restroom. They're like, "You're not supposed to do that on company time." And I'm just like, excuse me? I'm gonna use the restroom when I need to use the restroom. It's like, "No, you can't, or else we're gonna..." I was like, "You're gonna what? Fire me? Please, go ahead." So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and so we have these little black bars that we can pull out behind us and, like, sit on, but we're, like, not allowed to use them. So I pull it out and I sit on it. One of my managers comes over, she tells at me to stop sitting down and to stand up and everything. I'm just like, my knees hurt. She's like, "I don't care, we all have problems, now stand up and do your job." I was like, "I can do my job sitting down just as fine." "No, you can't. You need to be standing at all times and be professional." And I just look her up and down, and I'm just like, I'm a cashier at a grocery store. There's nothing professional about it. If you think I can't work while sitting down, then you must have never heard of what an office job is. Oh, that's right, of course you haven't, because you're 50 years old, you work in a grocery store, and all you do is talk behind people's backs, because you're too scared to say anything to their faces. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store. The other day, I was on my phone when I wasn't checking anyone out, and my boss comes over and freaks out on me that I shouldn't have my phone on me ever, that I should have it in one of the lockers in the break room. And I'm just like, "Well, what if it's an emergency?" And he's like, "Well, it's clearly not an emergency." And I was like checking my phone, looking at the stock market on Cash App. And he's like, "Yeah, you're just doing that shit because you just want to get out of your job." And I'm just like, excuse me? I'm not checking anyone out right now. I'm not trying to get out of anything. I'm trying to make a little extra money. He's like, "Oh, what? We don't pay you enough?" I'm just like, "No, you don't. $10.50 an hour does not afford food, water, and shelter. I'm sorry, you don't pay me enough. I'm gonna be going and getting money through other ways." And then he got all offended, and I'm like, "And how much are these lockers anyway?" He's like, "To rent one of the lockers that you are required to have to keep your phone in is $10 a day." I'm just like, uh-huh. So I will not be doing that. For those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and I got in trouble the other day because after I'd finished checking everyone out, I had printed out some blank receipt paper and started brainstorming ideas for the book that I'm writing. My manager comes over to me and she yells at me. She's like, "Envy, you can't just stand here doodling after you check people out." And she takes my notes and she crumples them up and throws them in the trash. I'm just like, "Why would you do that?" And she said, "Because you need to spot your dot." And I'm just like, what does that mean? When you're not checking people out, you need to spot your dot. You need to stand at the edge of your register and wave people down so they know you're open. So I pointed at the light on my register, and I said, well, that's what that's for. That's how people know if I'm open. If you want me to do more, then how about you pay me more and you be nicer to me? For those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and the other day I actually almost lost my job. There was this lady who came up with these 2 packs of meat that were like identical, and I didn't realize that meat goes by weight instead of just price. And one of them is busted and like leaking everywhere. And so I asked her, I'm like, do you want me to go grab you another one? And she just gives me this dirty look, and she's like, if I wanted another one, I would have grabbed another one. I want that one. So I take the not busted meat, and I ring it up twice. And she gets all mad at me, and tells me that I need to pay more attention because they're 2 different prices. So I look at her for a second, and I'm just like, okay, do you want me to take it off? And she goes, yeah, you're gonna ring them up for the right fucking price. So I take off one of the meats, and I grab the one that's all busted and leaking everywhere, and I'm just like, congratulations. You saved 15 cents, and now my hands are filthy. She starts yelling at me about, you're damn fucking right I did. And so she demands to see a manager. So I call over the assistant store director. But what was funny was because she was causing a scene, other customers had come to step in and stand up for me. And there was this little high schooler who had started recording the entire thing. So after I had clocked out and everything, my managers called me over to customer service right before I go home. Surprisingly, they actually commended me on my cool composure and not raising my voice or engaging back. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and I had this one customer who was really interesting, and I think he might need to check himself into a nursing home. He came to my register, paid for his stuff like normal. I hand him his receipt, and he just slips it straight in his pocket, looks straight up at me, and goes, where's my receipt? I told him, sir, it's in your pocket. You just placed your receipt in your pocket. I watched you. And he goes, no, I didn't. Are you calling me a liar? And I'm just like, no, sir, I'm not calling you a liar. He's like, well, then give me my receipt. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? You see that desk right over there? Go walk over there to customer service and they can reprint your receipt. And he goes, what, you can't do it right here? It's like, no sir, I don't have the clearance to do that on this computer. I'm not a manager. So he storms away going to customer service, throwing his hands up in there and flipping me off and shit. And I'm just like, yeah, I fucking hate you too, old man. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and I had a very interesting encounter the other day. There was this man who came up with his girlfriend, and she was like, oh, don't worry, baby, I'm gonna pay for everything. And he was like, no. And he puffed out his chest, and he's being a gentleman. He's like, I'm gonna pay for all the groceries. And I started clapping, and I said, what a man. And he looked at me for a second, and he's like, would you like anything? And I'm just like, well, would I like anything? And so I pointed to the little basket of Pokemon cards in front of me. So he bought me a pack of Pokemon cards, and he said, now listen, if you get a Charizard or one of them Elden Rings, you let me know, we'll sell it to Kanye for $8 million and split the money. And I'm just like, yes sir, have an excellent day, thank you so much. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store. The other day, after I finished checking some people out, my manager just comes over to me and just goes, why are you still on your register, Envy? You're supposed to sign off your register when you're not checking people out to keep your IPMs above 17. What the fuck is an IPM? IPMs is items per minute. It needs to be above 17 or else disciplinary action will be taken. And what do I get for keeping my IPMs at above 17? The quickest cashier in a month will get to choose their own schedule for a week. So I start laughing. And she's like, what's so funny? And I'm just like, how about a raise? So she turns up her nose at me and goes, you spoiled little brats don't need any more money. And then she waddled away. I like to go raid her own Twinkie stash again while we're all doing all the work. For those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store. And the other day, I had to call in sick for work because I got a really, really bad stomach bug from my stepmom. And so I called a day in advance as soon as I had started feeling bad. And I'm just like, hey guys, I'm really, really sorry. I wanted to give you the biggest heads up that I could. I'm really, really sick. I have a stomach bug and I can't come to work tomorrow. And my boss just sighs and he goes, do you have a doctor's excuse? I can't get out of bed. And then I just hear the scrabbling of a pen over the phone. And he goes, okay, I'm documenting this because it's an unexcused absence and it's going on your record. If you do this again, you're getting written up. And I had to turn off my phone the next day because while I was sick in bed, they were blowing me up with calls and texts and threats. And I just wasn't gonna deal with that. So for those of you who don't know, I work a cashier job at a grocery store, and I had a really rude customer the other day. There's this one lady who came in, and I was like, good morning, did you find everything okay today? And then she just kind of rolls her eyes at me and grunts. I'm like, oh, alright, that's fine. And then after I finish ringing up her stuff, she goes, snap! And she starts like swiping her card on the kiosk. I'm like, excuse me, what does snap mean? And then she responds with, snap! And she starts jostling my kiosk like she's gonna break it or something. And then I look over and see it's a food stamps card. And I'm like, oh, it's food stamps. Why didn't you just say so? And she's like, it's a SNAP card. You should know this. So I got in trouble at work the other day. It's because I was not clocking out for my lunch breaks for like the past 4 weeks. And I get paid weekly pay, so I thought it was really funny how I got away with it for so long. My boss pulled me into his office, and he shows me my time card. He's like, what is this? You can't just take your lunch breaks on company time. I just looked at him for a second. You make $1, I make a dime, I'm taking my breaks on company time. And he goes, we'll see about that. I'm gonna start giving you less hours. My face just lit up, and I was like, really? And then he looked all taken aback and shit. And he's like, but less hours means you make less money. And I told him, I'm like, listen, man. I'm just here to fuck around, I'm gonna be honest with you. You pay me chump change. I've already put in a bunch of applications to different places, and as we speak, I'm still studying for my NREMT exam to become a fully fledged medical technician. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and the other day, I had this one lady come in and ask me, do I need to take my case of beer out, or can you come around and scan it? I'm just like, ma'am, I'm sorry, we don't have scan guns. You're gonna have to take it out and put it on the conveyor. She goes and like starts being really dramatic as she's like putting it up and everything. So she puts her basket behind me as if she like expects me to put her bags in her basket. So then she goes and starts being really dramatic about putting the beer case back in her buggy. So as I'm checking out the next person in line, this lady turns back to look at me and goes, you know, sweetie, a much better way to go about that is if you would have offered to come and take it out for me and put it back in. So I turn to her and I say, ma'am, I'm so sorry, but I only do that for the pretty girls. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier at a grocery store, and last night I was the cashier who stayed until closing time, and there was this one lady who came in, and I checked her out, and she just kind of wasn't really saying anything, and she was just kind of shrugging a little bit. And I was kind of just getting these, like, weird vibes from her, if that makes any sense. Anyways, she leaves. I tell her to have a blessed day, because that's what I do with all my customers. And she comes back, like, 20 minutes later. And I see her again, and I smile. Back again so soon? And she doesn't say anything. I ask her, did you forget something? To which she gives me an ugly look and goes, should I answer your questions? And then I hand her her receipt, and she looks at me out of the corner of her eye and goes, have a good night. At this point, I just couldn't help myself, so I just snicker a little bit. I'm just like, yeah, you look like the type of person to do your shopping at night. For those of you who don't know, I'm a cashier in a grocery store. Today, I went to go and help my grandfather with roofing a shed that we're building for some horses. I did not realize that I was scheduled for work today, so my boss texted me to see if I was awake and if I had overslept or something. I had told him I'm so sorry. I had no idea I was on schedule today. I am roofing a shed with my grandfather. He told me that it wasn't fair to him and that he's trying to run a business. I don't want to engage with somebody who is in their mid-40s and acting like a child. I do not care about what is fair to you. It is not fair to me that working a job is not able to pay for the basic necessities of food, water, and shelter. So therefore, I do not care about what is and isn't fair to you. Because life isn't fair. We don't live in a fairy tale. This is the real world. So, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a cashier at a grocery store, and one day I had this lady come up with a tub of ice cream and a coupon. I scanned her ice cream and I scanned the coupon. The coupon was expired, and it was for Walmart. I tried to explain to her, ma'am, your coupon is expired, and it's for Walmart. No, it's not! It works! It's for Walmart. No, it does not work. Are you sassing me, boy? No. I just cannot take $1 off of your ice cream for a coupon that does not work. And then she has the genius idea of splashing her water on my face. So, I smile, I look her up and down and I ask her, ma'am, do you even need that ice cream? You look to be putting on a few pounds. Really got some meat on your bones there, don't ya? Now this is when she exploded, started screaming about how her boyfriend's a gangbanger and how he'll come and, like, cat me in the face or something. I'm just staying there, I'm listening to all these threats that she's making. Yeah. I'll fuck your boyfriend while you watch. I went to the store earlier to pick up some peppermint tea, and as I was leaving, there was this couple who didn't look like they were much older than me, 19, 20-ish, and they're walking really slow leaving the store, and so I just kind of like slip by them and like get in front of them and like walk out the store, and I hear the girl go, "Are you serious?" And I just ignore her and I just keep walking. And then her boyfriend goes, "Damn, son," and I'm still not listening. And then a moment later he goes, "Learn how to walk." And I'm still ignoring him. I don't really give a shit. I want to say it's part of the reason I don't really go places very often is because I'm a bit scared of confrontation. I know I said I don't really care, and like, I mean, I'm never gonna see these people again in my life, but it still kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. No, I just felt the need to talk about it, you know?
Hey Envy,
yeah?
whatever happened to your old cashier job you worked?
I never did give any closure to that, did I? So, as many of you know, I'm an emergency medical technician, but I used to be a caretaker for my grandfather, and before that, I used to be a cashier at a grocery store. One day my boss called me in to work an extra shift on the weekend, and I'm low-key kind of a people pleaser, so I kind of struggle to tell people no and establish proper boundaries. I'm working on it though, which is a good thing. It was a lot more difficult for me at the time. My boss called me in, but he didn't want me to work in a cashier shift. He wanted me to work a salesperson shift. So, you know the people who will just kind of sit there and, like, sell the plates of food and everything? My boss wanted me to do that. So I'm just like, okay, sure. I mean, I'd never really done that before. But I'm like, sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen? And he gave me a goal. He's like, alright Envy, if you sell 25 of these steak dinners, then I'll give you a $25 store gift card. If you sell 50 of them, then I'll give you a $50 store gift card. I'm just like, okay, cool. I didn't really have a need for the store gift cards, but I was just gonna give it to my dad and like trade it out to him for like actual money. So the normal salespeople usually only sell like 5, 6, maybe 8 or 9 a day. Yeah, I sold 48. I sold every piece of meat that we had in the deli. I greeted everyone who came in the store, called a bunch of people over, persuaded a bunch of people to come and buy some food that they really didn't need. I mean, a cute boy selling food, you know. I really went above and beyond with this, right? So then my boss gave me a $25 store gift card. The managers in the deli were, like, ecstatic. They're like, oh my god, Envy, you could sell shit to a pig farmer, oh my god. Yeah, it was pretty cool. My boss gave me a $25 store gift card, which I'm just like, come on, dude. I mean, you can't just round up for me, you can't just give me the 50, but, you know. Oh my god, a Spriggan. So then all of a sudden, doing this became part of my job. Like, I got hired to be a cashier. I was paid to be a cashier. I didn't get anything extra from doing these salesperson duties. And I also only got the gift card, like, the first time I did this, because the other times that I had to sell stuff, I consistently sold, like, 42, 44, 46, I got nothing. It was just kind of expected of me at this point. I didn't get a raise, didn't get, like, any of that shit. It was just kind of like, oh. Alright. I was not happy about it either. I didn't like doing it. Because the first time, like, I had a goal and I had a reward, right? So I really turned my charms on to the max. Just draining myself doing that fucking every single fucking time they called me in for it. No thank you. It's not really my cup of tea. So on top of all the other bullshit that my grocery store job would put me through, this was kind of just like the icing on the cake, and I'm just like, I don't really want to deal with this. I remember the day I quit. I get to work one day, they're having me be a salesperson again, and I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. Oh my god, I leveled up my acrobatics. So you're now able to jump on water. I'm sorry, what? Am I Jesus? So one day, like, I'm being a salesperson, and one of my friends comes in, and she's like, hi, Envy, and she walks over to me, we chat for a little bit, and she's like, honestly, I'm thinking about quitting soon, and I'm like, why? As it turns out, one of the new managers we had came up and groped her. When I heard this, like, I just felt a stone sink in my stomach. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. To make matters worse, they urged her to keep quiet about it and try to, like, shut her up and everything. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? That is absolute despicable behavior. Like, no. As a guy, I have zero tolerance for the men who do these kinds of things. And I may be a little bit radical, but I do believe we should bring public executions back as well. Because there's no excuse for that. People need to keep their hands to themselves. She's like, they don't know who they're fucking with. Because I will sue. And I'm gonna get a big fucking paycheck. And I'm just like, you fucking go, girl. Get that bag. I kind of fell out of contact with her, so I don't know how everything went. So then my friend goes and clocks into work, and I'm just kind of standing there, supposed to be selling these plates of food, and it's just kind of giving me a lot to think about. Like, I always felt like I was wasting my potential and my skill sets working at this grocery store, because I had medical training, but I wasn't putting it to use. Because I still needed to pass my NREMT exam to become an emergency medical technician. And I essentially had to relearn everything on my own, which fucking sucked. Then one of my other friends walks in, he comes and he dabs me up and everything. I was confiding in my friend, and he's like, honestly dude, go and study up for your stuff. You don't need to be here. There's no reason for this. This isn't going anywhere. You need to do what's right for you. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm just like, could you come with me just so I feel a bit more confident in myself? And he's like, of course. So he comes with me to the clock-in room, and I clocked out one final time. One of my managers had followed me into the clock-in room. I felt like a deer in headlights, like I'd been caught red-handed. She just stares at me, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And she goes, I am going on my lunch break, and I'm keeping an eye on you. What are you doing, Envy? And I'm just like, nothing. And she's like, well, you're not supposed to be doing nothing. You're supposed to be working. Get back to your post and get back to work. And I'm just like, yes, ma'am. So I walk back to the front of the store, talking with my friend. And he tells me, he's like, go study for your stuff. And I'm just like, thanks, man. I think I will. I gave him a fist bump. I ran out the store. And I ran back to my car. And I just left. And then I went to go out to eat at one of my favorite restaurants to calm my nerves while I was still in my work uniform. I had these weird feelings in my head of like, oh my god, I'm gonna get in trouble. People are gonna see me and see my work uniform, and I'm gonna get in trouble because I'm supposed to be at work right now. And I was like shaking and freaking out. And looking back on that, it just feels so silly and so stupid, you know? I was worried about nothing. I'm a human being. I can do whatever I damn please. So my boss calls me while I'm getting lunch. And I just declined the call immediately. And he's blowing up my phone with texts. He's like, Envy, where are you? Why did you abandon shift? And I'm reading this and I'm just thinking like, wow. Like, abandon shift? It's really not that deep, bro. Like, I'm not your daddy who went to go and get the milk and never came back. I don't know what you mean by abandoned shift. I made up some bullshit excuse. I'm just like, oh, my grandma fell and busted up her knees. And I went to go and make sure she was okay. And he's like, okay, well, call me back and we can discuss it. And I'm just like, okay. And then I blocked his number. Oh my god, my apparel is broken. Not one, but 2 Daedroths is crazy. He's breaking all my armor. That's crazy. But yeah, I'm an EMT now. Sometimes I'll go back to the old store that I worked at, and I'll just be wearing my new uniform and strutting my badge around and shit. And then I'll see my old work peers, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, Envy, hey! How are you? Holy shit! Oh my god, you're a first responder, that's so cool!" And I'm just, you know, we chat for a bit. And there's one manager I got along with, this sweet elderly lady, and I always make sure to check in with her every time I see her, and she tells me she's really proud of me and everything, and it's really nice. But for the most part, my old managers kind of just give me the stink eye every time they see me. So sometimes to fuck with them, I'll be like, "Hey, do you guys give discounts to first responders, huh?" Just like moving my hair out from over my shoulder and like showing my badge and shit. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, that period of my life was kind of like a fever dream, I'm not gonna lie.